Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In order to take accountability for what has passed and what will be, there's no time like presently. So, for all of those with mouths and ears, can we have a moment of your time? We want to gain some perspective. Can we have a piece of your mind?
What's
All right,
up?
guys. What's going on? Welcome back, guys. And I'm excited today. As you
Mm-hmm.
guys can see already, we have a guest. This is my sister Kait, man. Now let me tell you, she was my sister. As soon as Hector told me that was his woman, that's my sister. But I'm falling in love with this young lady over here. Okay, this is a beautiful soul here. She's very insightful. Every time we get a chance to speak, she's usually on Thankful Thursday too, our mastermind group. And every
Mm-hmm.
time she speaks, man, I feel like I learned a little something. You know what I mean? And I think this is gonna be a great show. She's actually gonna be hosting pretty much. You know what I mean? And we
Yeah,
got questions,
that's right.
so we're gonna gain some perspective up in here.
Yeah, so you guys hear me talk about Kate often. Um, that's my better half for sure. My partner in crime. And today's topic, what we're gonna be bringing to you all is a little more on a serious note, a little heavy, but we're gonna try to keep it light and fun and entertaining. And most of all, it's a shared perspective. Because I can guarantee you, all of us have experienced what we're getting ready to discuss. Some of us just may not have a name for it. And so we're getting ready to put names to a lot of these things you may have experienced. And yeah, we hope you guys, perk up, open your eyes wide and your ears and listen with your heart, because it's going to be a good one today.
Hey man, once you guys attain this knowledge too, man, they say knowledge is power. You didn't know before, but now you know.
Mm-hmm.
When you know better, you do better.
Do better. Oh yeah,
That's
you
the
do.
goal for everybody here.
That's right. So what's up, babe? How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm
I'm glad
excited
to
to
have
be
you.
with you guys. I
Good.
listen every week to the show, and I'm really proud of you guys. And
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, you guys are just really sharing a piece of yourselves, and in turn, it really helps people share a piece of their mind, maybe externally, whether they're doing it with you guys yet or not, but it might encourage them to do it in their own lives, the listeners that you have. So, pretty cool.
That is cool. I never thought about it like that, actually. They may not be sharing with us, but they may be finding that power to open up. That's kind of cool to think about it like that.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
that is
cool.
dope. That is dope.
So we wanted to talk about something along the lines of mental health, and we're gonna get right into it. I mean, I feel like it's going to be a big conversation. So, what is this that we are being exposed to today? What are we about to gain some knowledge on?
I received a list from you, Hector, that you received during one of your times in therapy. And this list is called Cognitive Distortions. So, right off the bat, I'd like to go ahead and show you guys the definition for both of those words, cognitive and distortion. So, I'm going to share my screen here. And let's see. I believe I have it on this at the very bottom. So can you guys see what I'm seeing?
Yep.
Okay, so cognitive, relating to, being, or involving conscious intellectual activity, thinking, reasoning, remembering. That cognitive is pretty much your awareness.
Yeah.
Distortion is the act of twisting or altering something out of its true, natural, or original state, the act of distorting. So if you think about those two words coming together, I personally find that a little bit frightening, to know
Yeah.
that your awareness is distorted. It's
Being
being
twisted.
tainted a little bit. And maybe someone might automatically jump to maybe a substance, because surely people who use different kinds of substances often, they probably experience a distorted reality of some sort. But believe it or not, this actually pertains to anybody, whether they're of sober mind or they are under the influence of a substance. That these cognitive distortions do not discriminate. They are present everywhere.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and
before we go into that, you mentioned that I gave you this list many years ago when I was in, one of my first early rounds of therapy. And I'll tell you that, yeah, I went through this list 100 times, but never once did I take those two words and take them apart so that I can have a better understanding of what cognitive and what the distortion is. I know what they are, and in my mind I can piece them together. But when you put something down on paper, it suddenly is a lot louder because you're not only seeing it now, you're hearing it too, and so you're giving your brain a lot of opportunity to really dive deeper into that understanding. So I really appreciate you doing that because I actually never did do that cognitive distortion. And that already spoke a lot louder to me because knowing that my awareness is being twisted. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
When I actually when I hear cognitive, now this is all new to me. I'm not familiar with any of this, so excuse my ignorance, but
it'll resonate as we go on. But keep going.
I want to. So, from my understanding so far, right, an example of cognitive distortion would be, for me, it would be like, okay, let's see. Let's take our upbringing, right? We was raised to believe one thing, right? Like we was raised to believe one thing. Let's say we was raised to believe all people were nice. Like when we were in the house up until we were 5 or 6, and then we get out into the real world, and we find out that everybody's not so nice or something, like, you know what I mean? Is that like an example of cognitive distortion? Like you before you had your reality check, you believed that everybody was sweet.
I feel like you're talking about me. That's exactly how I went out to experience the world. I just love everybody, but then I kind of learned that maybe that's not so safe to do that. But yes, cognitive distortions are honestly probably the cause of why people aren't being so nice, because they're living under these cognitive distortions. So you going into the world with an open heart and an open mind, I would say that's actually, at least in my opinion, that's probably living above those cognitive distortions. You're wanting to participate in this world, participate with others, and so I feel like that's a really healthy and good thing. And honestly, more people should probably have that approach, but it's scary too, and a lot of people have been burned, so they can't. So
yeah,
but if you understand this list, then when you interact with those people who are difficult, then you have more of an understanding of where they might be coming from, and then you won't take it as personally.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Give me some perspective, man. Knowledge, knowing, and so we can do better.
That's it.
So I wanted to give just a tiny bit of background information. I don't have an education in mental health except for the education that I've searched for myself. At a really young age, I was lucky because my grandma, I call her G, she really enforced that, you know what, some of the people in our life aren't very healthy, and I don't want that to happen to you. And so she would take me to these things called NAMI meetings, NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness. And what it is a support group for family members who might have a loved one that really struggles with some sort of faction in mental health. So I'm going to just share the screen again for a quick moment just to show you guys their website. I haven't gone to a meeting in a long time, but my first meeting, I was probably like 12 years old. And my most recent meeting was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 4 years ago. So it's been a while, but I do think about the experience often. So NAMI, this is NAMI, again, national. So I'm sure if this resonates with you at all, you can go online and see if there is a in-person meeting you could attend or an online meeting. And again, it's just a support group. So if you have someone who's abusing substances that you're close to, someone who has told you, or you might think that maybe let's say they're schizophrenic or they're bipolar, or maybe you have a lot of anxiety and different things. The support group doesn't have to be for someone outside of yourself. It could even be for yourself if you're that aware.
Mhm.
So yeah, that just was really impactful for me to attend those NAMI meetings as a child and then reach for them again as an adult.
So I'm curious if I may ask. So you said 12 was the soonest you went, and then I know that in our time together you had attended one very early in our relationship, and you were kind of just giving someone some support. You were tagging along. Um, what was your experience like the first time versus being an adult? Do you think your awareness, and the level of maturity made it sound a little different? Was it intimidating? Is it still intimidating? Like how was that experience for you?
I would say being young, hearing the different categories that you can classify, like serious mental pain, like for example, like the schizophrenia, that one always, ever since I was young, I remember first, I mean, I feel like I learned about it in school a little bit, but when I heard about it at a NAMI meeting, I was just like, these people hear voices and they don't really trust their reality, and that like really scared me. And then as an adult, I actually had more interactions with individuals that were labeled under this mental health spectrum. And so it made me really comprehend that, you know, just because someone's reality is different than mine, it doesn't mean that it's not valid. So
It's not happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so they say, like, just to get off left a little, go left a little, like you guys always say.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do it.
look at that.
I brought up substances before, and I think what really attracts individuals to substances is the fact that it does take them on to a level that they're not normally on. And let's say they're on the same level, but they just like they can see it differently, and it's empowering to that person. So let's keep in mind that when people use substances, usually it triggers these mental illnesses. So if someone had, potential to have schizophrenia as a child because maybe it was passed on, if they choose to use substances when they get a little older, it's only going to magnify those things and really make it full blown, and then it becomes their new reality. So then it's really hard to come back from that after. But
You know
It's
what?
understandable.
This topic is making me, because I'm just thinking about like different forms of cognitive distortion, and it's making me think of somebody who may be like kind of narcissistic, right? Like a person that suffers from like narcissism is like they're here in this reality with us, but they see things differently, or they like,
They
how can I put
choose to, in a way, they choose to see.
that is one of the cognitive distortions.
That
it?
is
Yeah,
one of them. Oh yeah.
yeah.
And
So
there's a lot of them that you're gonna know, bro. You're gonna see a lot of them that you're like, I knew that, but now you know that that's a distortion. That's not necessarily a sound mental health thing.
Yeah,
It's actually not a good thing. And yeah, so there's a lot of them. I guarantee you that you know on that list. You've already said two, not even knowing.
yeah. So wait, narcissistic people though, right? Somebody who's narcissistic that happened to them, that's not necessarily a mental illness, right? Is that something you can like?
no.
That's something that like, okay, like I was saying, you was raised up in a house and people led you to believe things were this way and not a different way, or they let you get away with too many crimes when you was a kid. Like you used to steal cookies, but they wouldn't say nothing to you. And you grow up to be just like this cookie stealer or something. Like I don't know.
Stole
Like,
the cookies from the cookie jar.
like
Nah,
yo,
me.
I've always been doing this my whole life. Like what y'all mean I can't
Right.
steal? Like, what's wrong?
Yep.
Well,
If I get away, if I steal it and you don't see it, then there's nothing wrong with it. Like,
Well, let me just say that cognitive distortions, at least from my understanding, aren't a mental illness. They're just a reaction. It's almost like a defense mechanism. It's something that's kept you safe in different periods in your life. And usually it does have to do with interacting with others. And so you've reacted and operated in this certain way, and it worked for you at some point. But if you're still doing them all the time, you're probably not feeling very good.
yeah, that's the scary thing about when you about that though. It's like it becomes a habit. If you, the way you react,
Yep.
when it starts to become natural, it also becomes a habit. So that's just like the way you answer to situations, right? Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are you guys okay with me just going ahead and
Let's
giving
get into
you a
it.
taste of what's on the list?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I took the original list that was shared with me, and I'm gonna just show it to you guys really quick because I feel like it's impactful all on its own, just the way it's written.
Yeah, everything visual. When you can see it, when you hear it is one thing. When you can see it is another. So.
Yep.
I'm kind of liking this whole thing, man.
All right, give me one moment. I have the original list right here that I want to share, and so for your enjoyment, like Hector and Frankie bring up often, it's our Thankful Thursday group, and I've been so happy to be a part of it. But last week we were touching on I statements, so and then also we kind of highlighted that if you like point a finger at someone to say like you, that it really turns someone off. So let me share my screen really quick.
So just to give a little bit further deeper understanding, I statements, you speak in I am sorry, I misunderstood, I did this. You kind of, it's like a sense of accountability, you are taking ownership of it, as where you, it's a blame thing. You messed up, you misunderstood. And when you say you to someone, when you're having a conversation that's a little hotter than normal, you tend to push people into a defensive state. And that defensive state is typically where these things you're about to see come to life. So there's a lot of power in I and you. And so that's, that was a great conversation.
Mindful. Yeah, it's a way to be mindful in your interactions so that way you're not being harmful to yourself or others. Absolutely. So look at this original list. If we scroll down, do you see the first word on most of this list?
You.
Because you know what? I think if a therapist is giving this to their patient, they're like,
they're calling you out.
Yeah, they're like, you need to be more aware. So, now I'm gonna. Okay, go ahead.
That list went fast, so all of y'all don't worry. We'll go ahead and make sure that we post it up on the Spotify and the YouTube for you guys to have access to that, to look through them a little bit more. And then also, while you're watching, feel more than welcome to pause the video and really observe them. Give yourselves a heads up to kind of know what you're going into. But I know Kait's going to get ready to go ahead and just get us in there deeper. So, follow along, y'all.
It's going to be a real resourceful episode, man. We're going to put some links in the bio.
Oh, yeah. You'll find the links to the NAMI meetings and all that good stuff for sure.
And then these slides that I've made will be also from what I've communicated with Hector and Frankie. I hope you're okay with it. They are in a format where they can be shared on your social media, so Instagram and whatnot. So you'll have the capability to put them on there. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just want to disclose that again, I am not a mental health professional. I'm just sharing my understanding and wanting to acknowledge that this has made me have a little bit more peace in my life, and it really helped me become more self-aware, which was very helpful.
Hey, Kait, if you don't want to call yourself a professional, and I know why you're doing this, copyright issue. Not a copyright issue, but
I just don't want to come across as like someone who thinks she knows everything. I don't know anything. I just know this feels good.
We are all scientists. We are all practitioners. If that's what you've been observing, if that's what you've been consuming, if that's what you practice, if that's what you're preaching,
that's what you are.
You something in that direction, okay?
Yep.
You're a practitioner.
I agree.
I can respect that. I love the idea of being a self-scientist like that. Yeah. Every time you say that, I'm like, yes, that is me.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. So let's go into the first slide I made. There's, I don't know, I think there's 30 of them. So there's a lot of them. I don't really feel like we should spend too much time. I just kind of want to read each one, and then maybe at the end,
we'll figure it out. We go.
Yeah, and then maybe at the end, you guys can be like, "Well, I think I do this one," or you know what, my mom does that one a lot, and we could kind of bounce back and forth after that. But
let's do it. That sounds good. Yeah, it's a good little exercise to know, where we're observing it and how we're observing it within ourselves, because that's the point of the list. Is not to see who's doing it; it's to see what we're doing. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Awesome. Cognitive distortions.
Right. And I put a little header on each slide that says self-reflection, because that's really what this is. I'm not aiming to attack anyone. I'm just aiming to build up some sort of awareness. And if it happens to resonate with you, good. That means you
Good.
can do something about it.
Exactly.
So the first one is acting confused.
Hey, if you guys feel attacked when she says something, that might be a sign, okay?
Listen.
Maybe you need to get a little more aware of yourself.
Maybe.
And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Because if you haven't had the opportunity to even begin that journey of self-awareness, and this is the way that you get started, I feel like it's a pretty impactful way to really start diving into that journey.
Yeah.
So the first one on the list, it is in alphabetical order. So acting confused. This is where you portray yourself as helpless or confused so that you avoid accountability. If you don't know what's going on, then it couldn't be your fault, right?
Right.
So next one. I want to just get through them because there's a lot of them.
All the time,
Go
man.
for it. Yep.
Okay.
I used to do that at the workplace all the time. I used to act confused.
I just work here, man.
I don't know what's happening.
No.
Okay, this one right here, I feel like everybody does. Like, there's such a lack of communication on a daily basis. So this is assuming. Coming to conclusion based on your ideas without checking it out first. Which, hey, it's safe to assume on a lot of occasions because sometimes you can't operate with constant communication. But if you're just, if you have an opportunity to communicate and you're not, and you just feel like assuming is easier, it's just going to be more damaging in the long run. So try to avoid doing this. Being right, continually proving how you are right and that others are wrong.
That sounds like a very that sounds like people when they're in like a very closed-minded state. Like that's like when people would say you're closed-minded, this is exactly what they mean. Like you're not trying to hear anybody else's reasoning. Like what you say is right. Like I understand this one right here.
I think all of these come from a place of not feeling safe at some point. So if maybe a person who always has to be right, it's because they've never been right before. And so, like in the places where it counted for them, someone didn't find them credible. So now they found this self-authority that, you know what, I'm right, and nobody can, distinguish that from me because, and so it really, all of these are just defense mechanisms from my comprehension. So if you know someone who's doing this, don't be mad at them, just be compassionate for them.
And maybe give them the opportunity to speak, man, because I feel like being right is just also a way to be heard, and when people are not heard, they get a little louder, or a little quieter, and then that's when we go. Yeah.
I wonder about that though, because like usually people who always feel like they're right, they don't have a problem talking. They're gonna express how they feel. I mean, hearing them out is to like really just let them get it all out. But I don't, a lot of this is one of the ones that will fit with a narcissistic person perfect. Like they're gonna tell you everything they gotta say. They're right, and whatever you gotta say, it don't even matter because I'm right. Like what I mean?
Right.
I'm right. Like.
Yep, I could see that for sure. These individuals maybe haven't had the opportunity to really practice listening and see the benefits of actually engagingly listening, not waiting for their turn to be right. So I'm going to keep moving. Blaming, holding other people responsible for your choices and decisions. So again, a lack of accountability.
And we experienced that one early. I mean, from the schoolyard, you want to blame little Susie for tripping you and, all sorts of we learned that early on. And yeah, that one's a very real one in society today.
Yeah, we definitely learned that way back in freaking kindergarten, bro. Probably before that.
Yep.
Blame somebody else so you don't get in trouble.
Exactly.
Which is just lame.
Super lame.
Okay. Oh, I mean, also, I'm not here to judge, but I'm just like throwing some fun at it. Like, come on now. Like,
we got to,
do you really need to be blaming anybody? Like, just own it. Okay. Catastrophizing. This word was hard for me to say, so hopefully I said it right. You make smaller issues into larger ones, dramatizing things to become a crisis. Like everything is the end of the world. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. So
oof, yeah.
I know a few
I know a lot.
The next one is control fallacies. Seeing yourself with no control, you're helpless, or with a distorted sense of omnipotence. I don't know what omnipotence means.
You are omnipotence is like I am a god, like I am
Okay.
perfect, and you can't tell me because I just know. You have this like sense of self where you put yourself on a scale a little bit higher than the rest of them.
So
And
so
that's
this
very
one,
Call
unhealthy.
it narcissism too. You know, can we go back up to go back up one
yeah.
and talk on it a second? Okay, what was it?
Catastrophizing.
Okay, and making a smaller issue into a larger one, dramatizing things to become a crisis. You know, this is actually something. I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody wants to make regular practice of it, but I'm pretty sure this is something we've all felt before. Honestly, you know,
Absolutely.
hey, you know, when I think about it, starting a podcast, bro. Whether
Yeah.
you're not doing this, you know what I'm saying? Like making up excuses not to even just get started. Like it's gonna be the hardest thing in the world. Like, you know?
Yep.
So I mean
And this one you're right, Frank. I mean, I feel like we all do this in a lot of ways. Think about it. Your first time having to go to court, your first time getting into a car accident, your first breakup, all these things that are big and this is your life. Now your life's being altered by it. Yeah, we tend to catastrophize it. Oh my God. Oh geez, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We all do that. We all absolutely do that
we
for
all
sure.
could be a little I'm pretty sure.
Everything
I'm
on
sure
this list.
we're guilty of everything on this list, man. I'm pretty
Exactly.
sure we're guilty of everything on this list, man.
Yep.
That's what
Only
I was about
human,
to
man.
say.
Working on being my best self.
Yes.
I want to just say that everything on this list is going to happen to you as an individual interchangeably throughout your life. Even if you're aware of them, you're probably still going to do them. So,
Yep.
but just as long as you're overall aware, then it won't be your main operating system. But it's okay if it's your default at sometimes, because maybe sometimes it is a proper way to communicate.
Getting aware is just the first step, yo. You know,
Yeah.
I started realizing, like, okay, let's say my attitude, right, or like how I talk to people when I get upset. For example, I remember one time after like really like deciding like y'all want to be better, right? My cousin did something, I got upset with him, and then I kind of like went straight to like this like yelling and stuff, like you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was afterwards, so I did the reaction, whatever it was. But afterwards, I reflected on it. It was like, yo, I could have went about that better. I could have did it better. I accepted that. You know what I mean? And the next time like a situation like that comes and I feel myself bubbling up, I'm able to calm myself down and react the way I want to react, as opposed to just respond the way I want to respond, as opposed to reacting.
That's what I was just about to say in I think it was your episode before Joy was on, or maybe the same one. You used that terminology several times when talking about your son getting in his first accident. You were saying, I chose not to react, I responded. So yes, reacting is instinctual, responding is intellectual.
Yes.
So, but you gotta have a combination of both. That's beautiful. I love that.
Oh, that was really well put. That's true. You gotta have a combination of both. So yeah, that's good stuff.
Okay, I'm really enjoying this list here, man. Let's continue.
Okay. So we talked about this one. It's on either end of the scale. Either you're helpless or everything is or you're able to really tame things and make it yours, and it's all you, so it's either it's not you at all or it's all you with this one. At least that's my comprehension.
Man, I get narcissistic when I'm playing the video game sometimes, man. I'm the god, okay?
Yep, you gotta be.
Beat somebody ass.
So this is the end of the first batch.
Now,
oh yeah, go ahead.
So Frankie, you was talking about reflection, and it's right there, self-reflection. So, and I wanted to make a point on that because you guys are really explaining these really well in a lot more detail than when they were first introduced to me, because I'm getting the experience behind it. But I do also want to make sure everyone is aware that not only should you be aware that you may be subject to doing some of these things, and like Frankie said, taking a moment, learning how to respond. But this thing here, you might also realize that these are some people in your life too. Now you have an understanding of, oh, that's what they're doing. over dramatizing everything. Well, how do I approach that? You learn a new way to try to talk to that person too. So keep it on both ends of the spectrum, for yourself and for them. For communication, for how you communicate to the world, and communication, how you speak to an individual and be spoken to in return. So just throwing that out there.
Definitely got to be careful with that that one in specific you was talking about, Hector, because like when you over dramatize everything, and again, we're creatures of habit. So if you make a habit of doing that, reacting to everything in that way, that just I could picture, like, if that was me and I was doing that for years, I could picture me looking like a person that, like, yo, Frank always playing the victim. Like, that's what everybody's gonna see me as. Like, oh, Frank is the victim. You know what I'm saying? Frank always playing that role. He's a good actor when it comes to playing the victim. You know what I mean?
You keep making me smile so much because you are so aware of what these cognitive distortions are, and you don't even know it, because playing victim is also a cognitive distortion.
It really is.
So this last slide right here, I just wrote a little note to just add a little bit of a cap on it to make it come around full circle and not feel again like a personal attack towards an individual who might resonate with this list.
Yeah, so sweet.
Thank you. So just keep in mind, becoming aware of these mindsets can help you reframe and progress through life with less friction. Because like Hector said, if you're aware that not only you have the potential to respond in these kinds of mindsets, other people do too. So if you're aware that it's happening all around you, then you can respond rather than react in uncomfortable conversations. So, what were you going to say?
You know what, Kait, man? I love how you are. I love how that you're so thoughtful and you want to make sure you're not offending anybody and stuff like that, right? And right. Me and Hector actually had this conversation. I was telling him, like, yo, you know what? Like, if I was just in my own little world, right? And this is what I believe, and you know what I mean? You can't tell me nothing. Like, if that was me, like, sweet wouldn't work on me. Like, that's me. That's one of the beauties of people, though. You know what I'm saying? We're all different. Sweet wouldn't have worked on me. When they tell me to think about, like, when I do, like, when I'm, like, you know, learning about shadow work and revisiting my past and finding your inner child and talking to him, sweet. My inner child ain't need to be talking to me. I'd be talking to him like, yo, bro, you want to slap, man? Get up off the ground, okay? Stop being a little wuss. Like, but I be feeling like sometimes I need that. Like, you know what I mean?
You know what's funny is I can't even comprehend that. And Hector's been trying to teach me that for as long as I've known him, because I just automatically think that you need to approach things with kindness and understanding. He's like, you don't really need to always do that, because
you know what's funny? I don't come from a bad household. Like, I don't feel like the way I was raised or anything like that was nothing. I feel like I got sweet. You know, I got enough sweetness around me all my life. So, like, you know what I mean? And, you know, yo, if you're somebody who's like, I don't know, you said you want to do something and somebody tells you, like, yo, no, you could do less and you'll be okay. You're still great. You know what I'm saying? You start to believe that. Like, yo, I'm good no matter what. Like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But then when the time comes and you want to push yourself a little further, and if somebody's telling you something real sweet, no, now you at a point where you need that slap. Like, bro, you're never going to get there with that attitude. You know what I'm saying?
They call it a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely needed. Both ends is needed for to get people to, you know, make people more aware. A little sweet for some people, a little spicy for others. You know what I mean?
And, you know, I want to say that I agree with Kait a lot, that you got to operate with kindness, because there's a lack of it in the world we live in today. You see it the moment you walk outside your damn door and you get on the road, man. People are assholes. But to extend her point a little further and then connect my point, you know, I love that full circle, y'all. Remember that some of these things, you know, we pick up as children, you know, the blaming, the catastrophizing, you know, some of these things we pick up as children.
Yeah, we keep it.
And we hold on to it. Exactly. So, and there are moments where we need to speak with kindness, because we're speaking to that inner child that still believes that. Now, all of these distortions aren't always the inner child. A lot of them are by choice by the asshole adult. And so when Frankie says, hey, listen up, that's what we're talking to. We're talking to that adult because you are in right mind now to make some changes and some choices, because that's what a decision is. And you decide how your life goes. You decide how you respond or you react.
Yeah, you decide if you want to stay closed-minded too.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So if you're an individual that understands your core values and the boundaries and you know how to enforce those boundaries, then someone who is an asshole adult can't even touch you. Like, you can respond kindly and you don't even care if it's changing them or not, because you already have a boundary in place and you get to operate how you feel is appropriate. And
and capital B for boundaries. That's a big word.
Touch you because you've established a boundary.
That's right.
I could tell Kait love being sweet, right? That's just who she is. It's not even she loves it. That's just who she is, right? Mm-hmm. And that's great. That's awesome. That's beautiful, right? But no buts, but no buts. What am I trying to say here? Continue. I'm sorry. I lost my thought.
No, it's okay. I'm actually learning how to do the opposite here, man.
Oh, that's where I was going.
Cool. It's pretty cool.
Kait, love isn't always sweet. Love isn't always sweet, right? And I'm not a hugely religious person, but I've grown up in church and I listened to the book. I read the book myself, and I'm in every Monday I'm in a pretty much a study hall with church. And they talked about Jesus, right? And this was the man of love, you know what I'm saying? This was the man of love, but there was a specific time where he had to show his love in a way that wasn't so sweet. You know what I mean? He went. They said he came back to his home and they were in the church doing all these crazy things, gambling and prostituting and stuff like that. They said Jesus went in there flipping tables and telling people, what's what and, what's up. You know what I mean? Just telling them what's up. Like, yo, this is not right. You don't do this. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people need that kind of love. It's still love. It's sad because a lot of us are so sensitive that when we're receiving love this way, we cut those people off completely. But, yo,
tough love.
It's tough love. It's love. You know what I mean? I'm just, if I got to tell it, if I said it to you sweet, you're not going to hear me, man. If I say, hey, man, what you guys doing in here? You can't be gambling in church. No, I'm kicking this. What is it? What the hell?
Right. Walking there real Debo, like, give me your money. Listen, man. Yeah, it's true. I agree with that 100% for real, y'all. And it's funny because I grew up, Frankie, in the environment we grew up, there was a lot of that tough love, a lot of that. It wasn't so sweet. Shit ain't sweet out here. And then meeting Kait, man, I got introduced a plethora of that sweetness and what that felt like. So I was introduced to the other side of it all. And so now I'm trying to operate more with some sweetness and still keep the tough love, and now she's operating more with the tough love, still keeping the sweetness. So it's kind of cool. Like how we just, we learn something and then you're not too big headed to be like, man, there are better ways to do it. Let me try some of that too, kind of thing. I love, that's what I love about this woman, y'all.
a little left on this conversation, but you just gave me a thought because you know what, heck, we was raised. Our generation was raised with a lot more tough love. It came from the generation before us. That's how they love.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's so funny because we received that tough love. We knew what we liked and didn't like, and we chose not to do the same to our children. Mm-hmm. So our children don't know. A lot of the generation below us don't know what tough love is, and that's probably why you got the elders and the youth not really understanding each other. You know what I'm saying? They don't know how to take the youth don't know how to take tough love, and sometimes our elders don't know how to take sweet.
Yeah,
that's so true.
No, that's true. That's true.
All these poor humans running around just not knowing how to communicate, and it's just so painful.
Right.
It's human experience, yo. So okay, you had more though. You had more for us, right?
If you guys want to hear them, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Bring them on in.
Okay, let me see here. this is my second. There's 4 slides altogether. If we don't go through all the slides, it's fine because again, if you follow Piece of Your Mind podcast on Instagram, the full list will be there.
Word.
It will be part 2.
Yep.
So,
because I see that we are coming up on the hour, and to be honest, I have my 8-year-old, or almost 8-year-old, she's 7, but I fast forward time. That's like something I do and I shouldn't. So I have my 7-year-old sitting over here very sweetly. She's just chilling, and I want to go chill with her, to be honest. So I don't want to make you guys go past more than an hour. So let's just go over the next batch and see how far we can get. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll make a part 2 on whatever we don't finish. I'm really enjoying this. So.
Okay, cool. So here is the second batch. Same kind of format. Nothing's really changed. So creating chaos is another cognitive distortion. You create a distraction or change the subject to shift focus onto something else.
Creating chaos, changing a distraction, or changing the subject to shift focus onto something else.
And again, another way to avoid, accountability. People have a hard time with accountability as a whole. I know I used to.
It's a big one.
I didn't realize I had the power to be accountable. And now that I do, I can't live any other way. So being accountable is very, very incredible.
I like that.
You know what, Kate? Creating chaos, right? Creating chaos. You create a distraction or change the subject to shift focus onto something else. You know what, man? That makes me think about the majority of us as a whole, like what they call when they refer to us as the masses. Are we not all distracted?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? This thing right here. This thing right here is the biggest distraction in the world, depending on how you use it. It could be a tool, or you could be the tool.
And it could be interchangeable. Sometimes it's a tool, sometimes you're the tool. It's just like...
you know what? You be having a thought about how you're going to grow on yourself and make yourself better, and the thought just starts to become too hard. So then you pick up your phone, you start scrolling on Instagram and laugh instead. You shift the focus onto something else.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You create chaos. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I resonate with that one for sure.
Yeah. That was definitely me, man.
It's a very relevant one. Okay, so debating the facts, arguing the details to avoid the big picture, having semantic arguments. So, honestly, just reading this with you guys, I really just want to say that each and one of these is honestly a moment where someone isn't accountable.
I can picture this happening for me when my emotions are running high. You know what I mean? I'm typically a logical thinker, right? But if my emotion was running high and we were in an argument, usually you can get me to see the big picture. But if I'm mad about something, that's all I'm going to talk about. I might repeat myself a couple of times, but wait, that don't make any sense. But wait, that don't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Someone points out something that you might have done, and then you just start to focus on that instead. I did this because of that. And, and I mean... I
can picture this happening definitely if you're coming from an emotional place right here, for sure.
Yeah.
Somebody who weighs heavily on, speaking from your emotions, from the heart. Not saying it's wrong, but I can picture that. I can picture that one on me.
Yeah, and it says it right there, having semantic arguments. I mean, you're talking about shit that's irrelevant to the point, I
can remember a younger me who was about that. Okay.
Okay, emotional reasoning. What I feel must be true. React basically solely on your emotion. I do this one a lot.
You was just talking about that, Frank. Yeah, okay. Emotions ride high. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Entitlement. You assume you have earned the privilege just because of who you are. Now, this one can go so deep into a whole other kind of realm.
Yeah, but you go way left on this one.
Yeah, and I feel like at some point it would be a really cool conversation to have.
I agree.
Entitlement, I see it in lots of places in the world, and it's annoying.
Hey,
So
man. This one's heavy with the youth. I remember the elders used to say it to us, like they used to say stuff to us like, "Oh, you act like we owe you something, or you act like I owe you something," right? I feel like with the youth, man, this one might be like amplified. Like you can't get them to go out the house unless you're giving them a ride. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
What? I used to ride the bike to go where I'm trying to go.
Right? Oh man.
I used to take my heel toe express everywhere. Like, come on.
For real.
I don't mean we could go a lot of places with that one, man. I wonder
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like I'm entitled. I'm pretty sure I got that in me somewhere, man.
Yeah.
I know I hear that one a lot when people are like, you don't know what I've been through. That's when that entitlement starts to set like real deep. Because it's like, just because you've been through something, you feel like you're owed something or you're a little bit more privy to something else. And it's just like, we all have a life where we go through shit. Entitlement isn't always described with that word. There's a lot of ways to look at what entitlement really is and means. And you can hear it in a lot of speech nowadays, man. That's a big one for real.
Hey, if you know what, people, man, if we're entitled to anything, if you want to feel entitled to anything, feel entitled to happiness, man.
Ooh, that part.
You know what I mean? Make that your entitlement.
That part.
You know what I mean? Make that your entitlement. You're entitled to your happiness. So things that's not making you happy, the things that's making you sad, like, yo, get them out of your life, man. Cut them. Bye-bye.
Word. Bye-bye.
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
And when Frankie says happiness, he's not talking about the temporary happiness that comes from being stimulated. It comes from genuine happiness, and ultimately that probably comes from being kind and receiving kindness.
Hey, if you're talking about, if you think in the first part of happiness, Kate just mentioned, then you're creating chaos. You can slide back up the slide. Okay? Right back.
Word.
Okay, so let's. I just want to be helpful for you guys. So we have 5 left in this batch. I'm okay actually because Evelyn's doing great. We can make this into a second episode and just keep going really quick. Yeah. But maybe because we're already about to be at the hour mark, we started a little after 10. It's
if 11 we go a little over the hour, okay. Let's finish. It's okay. Let's
finish this one.
Let's finish this. We got the time, and then we'll put the rest of them in part 2.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Perfect. So 5 left in this slot in this batch. So next is excuses. You have a reason for everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Externalizing, putting focus on others. You place accountability outside of yourself. So it's pretty similar to blaming. Just phrased a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
This one right here. Oh, what were you gonna say?
The one before externalizing, that one went by kind of fast, and I don't know if I really got to excuses. You have a reason for everything. Oh, okay. You know what? Children and teens do this a lot.
Yeah.
They do this one a lot. You know,
and it's a sense of a lack of accountability. They just don't know what accountability is. So when we teach them, a lot of these things go away, but it is all by choice too.
Yeah. Sometimes they do it so they don't get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny because I feel like sometimes I be having like the simplest conversation with a kid, and it don't like when I'm talking to them, it don't be so much about, okay, they used the milk, but they didn't put the top back on the milk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just let them know, like, if I go to the kid and I say, hey, look, when you're done using the milk, just put the top back on. I'm not saying this so you're in trouble this time. I'm just letting you know in the future to like, put the top on the milk. I don't want, I would like the top on the milk. That's how it was. But the kids go into this whole thing. Oh, but it wasn't me, or the toaster was on and the toaster went off, and like kid, what are you talking about? Like, what was the excuse? Did you hear what I said? Okay.
That's pretty funny. I feel that.
Yeah. I'm just really trying to make sure I'm capturing this whole list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As possible.
Of course. It's just that was a good example of that. It's funny.
We still have what, 2 or 3 more on there?
Yeah, a couple more.
Okay.
Externalizing. I'll just do this one again. Putting focus on others. You place accountability outside of yourself. So again, I think this one's a lot like blaming, but maybe you guys can help me.
So I
I
can picture
agree.
this one being like in a work setting, right? Like I don't know, like you work with a team, right? And I don't know, maybe you don't want the maybe a supervisor or manager does this one a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like it almost sounds like that rain down effect too. You know what I mean? The person highest up is screaming at the person below him. The person below him is blaming the person below him, like and you know pushing off work on the people below them, kind of thing, right? That's what this one kind of sounds like to me. Like
What I can see too is like someone who's a citizen, participating in society, but doesn't fully, doesn't actually fully participate because what's the point? The government and
That's the point I was going to kind of drive with. So when you blame, because they are very similar, you blame, oh, well, this happened because he did this and so I did that. But then externalizing feels more like, that's not my job. I don't care, kind of thing. I'm not going to worry about it because that's what they're supposed to do. So that I feel like that's where you place the accountability outside. It doesn't fit under your hat, or it's not your particular role or responsibility. So someone else's that's how it feels to me. This one more.
Okay.
I can see that. Like, so not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you guys, because I was just kind of in like, oh, that's just blaming. But having that further perception on it was like really nice. Thank you. Okay, so fallacy of change. Others will change if I pressure them enough. Energy is focused on changing others, not self.
I'm gonna be real with y'all. I suffered this one, man. I always thought to myself, man, if I talk to the narcissist the way the narcissist needs to be spoken to, if I always, just in tough love, and if I always do this, and then they would eventually change the way they are. Never realizing maybe I needed to change my approach. Maybe I needed to change how I understand them. I suffered this one for sure, man. This one was a real one for me. Never really given a shit that it was, my approach, because I know that my approach can be a turnoff sometimes, because, sometimes I'm blunt. I keep it sharp, straightforward. I don't like to beat around the bush or whatever, y'all. However, I like to just get to the point so that there is no misinterpretation, but it's sometimes under where that understanding, having someone understand where you're coming from, means a lot too. And so I know that one is a big one for me. Used to be, I have definitely worked on that one a lot, but yeah, that one plagued me for a while.
Pull that back up real quick. Read that one more time. Because I actually feel like this relates heavy to like, let's call it young relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like when I was younger, for sure, like instead of like trying to gain an understanding of one another, and or like trying to work with one another, like trying to grow together, you know, instead of like trying to make things work, you have one person like just pushing and yelling and screaming and or just going about things a certain way, trying to get you to get you to change, but not doing anything to change themselves. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what this reminds me of. This is something maybe this is something we could reflect on in our relationships. Like do we get a lot of this in our relationship?
Do you practice unconditional love?
Okay. Was that the last one?
Oh, let me see. Fallacy of fairness. You believe you know what is fair. Other people don't agree.
That's somebody who's that I can picture that being somebody who's like a very logical thinker. Like, because people who think on logic, they are pretty good at like kind of carving out what's fair and what's not. But they're kind of bad at like adding the emotional aspect to whatever the situation is. Like they don't even see that shit. You know what I mean? They don't even see that shit at all. Like it's just this is what's fair. I ain't trying to hear nothing else.
Which, these last two are really cool because I think that they could be applicable to individuals who tend to find themselves in leadership roles. Just they have that type of personality or that type of mindset. But unfortunately, maybe they might catch themselves not honoring that privilege of leading others. And so then they feel like they have to control or change people, or they feel like they have to dictate what is perceptually fair or right when it should be something that is a collective. But sometimes it's hard to do that because people are wild. So anyways.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's a good point to bring it up in like positions of leadership. And then, taking that a little further left, we like doing that too. When we think about the self, we're in control of ourselves. We are the captain of this ship. We're operating, so I don't really give a shit how anybody else is doing it. Just stay out of my way kind of thing. So we tend to be numb to a lot of these things, whether we're doing them or we're seeing them, because when we're seeing them, we're avoiding them. When we're doing them, we'll get out of my way kind of shit. And that creates a real level of, unfairness. The very last one, you know what's fair, but others don't agree. Maybe it's because the last one here on this list is, a big one that a lot of people are operating with for sure. That's cool.
And then my last one is just a little recap of this batch. So identifying with these mindsets can be an ego punch. It's okay though. Now that you're aware, there's a chance to grow.
Love it.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
When the list is up, am I still on camera?
Yes.
Yes, oh, okay. All three of us are. Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. I was just wondering.
Yeah, okay. You're good for it.
Okay.
So that was the first half of that list. We still have a whole nother half, and we are approaching that hour. So I mean, got it. You got anything you want to speak on those first ones, Frank?
Hey, not really. I mean, we were speaking all through it, so nah. But I definitely want to make sure that Kait has the opportunity to, maybe tell people what it is you do outside of this and how they can contact you. What are some ways they can reach you? What are some ways they can follow you? Or, you know what I mean? How can you, be of any value? Want to make sure you put your Instagram and stuff up there. What do they call that? When you're asking for like their information, is there one word to say that? Because I just sound like a mouth.
Your social media handles.
Yeah. What's some of your handles? How can we find you?
I was trying to find a good word for you, but I couldn't come up with one on the spot. But a little background. I saw Hector reach for a cool picture, so I'll let him show you guys, and then it's a good way to like in transition. So he loves playing with Midjourney, which again is a artificial intelligence generator of artwork. So
can you back it up a little more? I'm sorry, go ahead.
He submitted a picture that I posed at work where I wear an apron at work. Like it's my favorite thing because I hate scrambling for my tools. I love having everything I need on me right in that moment. And it's kind of become a signature for me. Like I feel like people at first found it kind of weird. Like, why is this chick wearing an apron? It's not part of the uniform. But I'm like, so now it's just known like Kait wears an apron.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I work at a print shop. I work at the same place that Hector works at. It's a nationwide franchise called Crown Trophy, and the particular shop I'm in specializes in signage as well. So we have a lot more equipment than your average Crown Trophy shop. So we do wide format printing, we do laser engraving, UV printing, some apparel decorating, and ultimately the end result is just tangible needs for the community. We work with schools a lot, community places like police departments or government buildings. Someone coming in off the street just needing something cool to commemorate maybe a fantasy football league, or gifts at someone's birthday and they want to make them a custom engraved cup or something. So it's really cool. I love my job. I've been working in the print industry for 8 years now. And I keep saying, I want to stop that. Just want to point it out in case anyone else noticed. But so, yeah, working in the print industry has been a huge passion for me, to be truthful. I have kind of found myself being turned off with my industry a little bit lately. And it's making me want to change directions with where I might want to go with the career for the rest of my life. So I'll maybe keep people in tune with that as it progresses. But right now, printing is where I'm at. And you can find me on Instagram. It's called Kait's Collabs. I spell Kait with an 8, so K8 and then S. Collabs, so short for collaboration. And on there, I just post a lot of content with my day-to-day working in a print shop. And again, it's fallen off a little, to be honest, but it is what it is. But I'm still on there. Yeah.
Life be lifing, right? Like Joy says.
You know what? They said one of our greatest abilities as human beings is our ability to change our mind. That's one of our gifts. So, when you're ready to make that change, make the change, man. That's all I can say.
Or maybe I'll go back in and... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I do have a question about the apron now. Where did that start? Did you work in a restaurant or something before? Like, where did you even come up with the idea to wear an apron in a place where aprons aren't typically used?
So I think aprons would be an appropriate attire in the setting, but it's just not something that's provided or enforced. I like to wear an apron when I cook because, or do the dishes, and grease or food things can get on your clothes. And I think a lot of it started from that, is that I don't have a big wardrobe to begin with. So then I'd be at work and some of my clothes would get like spray paint on them, or I'd be rubbing up against the wood work table and I'd get a hole in my shirt, or I don't know. And it kind of feels like armor, which is really cool.
I like that.
I put that on, and I don't wear it all the time. So if I'm spending a morning on the computer doing like art proofs, maybe I won't put my art apron on yet. But if I'm going to be up and about moving around the shop, I'm going to have my apron on, because I use my tape measure constantly, and my X-Acto blade or my different things like that. So
okay, personal tool though.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like someone who works in a wood shop or something, like they usually have an apron, and so I feel like it's, especially when I used to work at a sign shop, like that was pretty much a wood shop. Like we had all that equipment. So yeah, aprons are cool.
It's pretty dope. All right, so we'll close this one out, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that you guys are gonna have access to everything that was discussed here. But to do you one further, we're not done. So we're going to have a part 2 to this episode where we're going to go and cover the rest of the list that Caitlin has prepared for us and shared. And again, it's going to be on a social media, so you'll be able to see it. And one more reminder, go ahead and take a time to pause the video if at some point you needed to. And yeah.
And I just want to throw it out there real quick too. You guys, it has become a regular thing in the past few episodes for Hector to actually print something on Midjourney. And we were doing this this fun little segment about taking the details out of your dreams and putting it into Midjourney to make a visual of what you dreamt about. So if anybody's interested, we're gonna be growing on that concept. If anybody's interested, you know what I mean? Just link us. Let us know what you may have dreamed about. We'll throw it in Midjourney for you, and hey, we might even throw you a poster if you're interested. So, you guys stay tuned and you guys connect with us. We're looking to engage.
So it's another form of engagement, y'all. So like Frankie said, go ahead and link us, and then if trying to keep it relatively accessible and something approachable. So maybe 1, maybe 2 a week. If you guys can go ahead and reach out to the PC Your Mind podcast Instagram, or reach out to Frankie or just me on Instagram, we'll have all that available too. And just shout out, hey, listen, I have a dream. Like Frankie said, like the great Dr. King said, man, I have a dream. So, hey, yo, We'll put it up on Midjourney for you.
That makes me
And that way, bring your dream to life.
Put his dream into Mid-Journey.
Yeah. Hey, that'd be one to try right there. So, yeah, it's just a little more fun for all of y'all, for real. So, with that said, for all y'all who came through and let us borrow some time, we'll see y'all next week on PC and Mind. Much love.
Much love. All right.